You know you have a strong mindset after 50, not because of what you've gained, but because of what you've let go. You stop chasing approval. You've lived enough to know that self-respect matters more than applause. You embrace change. Most people fear it, but not you. You've seen life evolve, and you've evolved with it. You value peace over proving points. Winning an argument means little when you've already won clarity. You wake up with purpose, not because you have to, but because you want to. Contribution drives you more than validation. You know when to walk away from chaos, from drama, from anything that drains your energy. You don't need to shout to be strong. You've built quiet power, the kind that doesn't need attention. It demands respect. This is what a strong mindset looks like, especially after 50. And it's not the end, it's your greatest beginning. If this spoke to you, it's because you've lived it. Share this with someone over 50 who's just getting started, because the strong don't retire, they rise. Letting go is one of the most misunderstood and underestimated forms of strength. People often associate strength with holding on to dreams, to people, to beliefs, to routines. But real strength, the kind that transforms your life after 50, is found in your ability to release what no longer serves you. It takes courage to walk away from what you've invested in for years. It takes wisdom to know that not everything lost is a failure, and not everything kept is a win. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing to move forward without carrying unnecessary weight. It means being brave enough to say, this no longer defines me, and mature enough to not be bitter about it. As you grow older, you start to see life differently. You begin to understand that peace is more valuable than pride, that some relationships, even if they once meant everything, are meant to expire. You stop holding on to toxic attachments just because of shared history. You stop chasing people who don't see your worth. You learn that not every fight deserves your energy, and not every opportunity is worth your time. Letting go becomes an act of self-respect, not an act of loss. You're no longer trying to convince people to stay, to understand you, or to value you. You've let go of needing to be understood by everyone, and that is powerful. There's a certain lightness that comes when you release the burden of expectation. You no longer live under the weight of who you were supposed to be. You let go of the pressure to impress, to outperform, to always be right. You begin to feel free in your own skin. You stop measuring your life by external markers, money, status, likes, attention, and start valuing the things that can't be bought: peace of mind, meaningful relationships, health, time. You realize that success isn't always about more, it's about less. Less noise, less stress, less proving. Letting go also means releasing old stories about yourself, the ones that keep you stuck in cycles of fear or regret. You stop defining yourself by your past mistakes. You forgive yourself not because it's easy, but because you deserve freedom from shame. You let go of resentment toward others, not because they earned your forgiveness, but because you earned your peace. You understand that holding on to anger poisons your own soul more than it affects the other person. And you learn that you can still protect your heart without closing it off. It takes strength to let go of control, to accept that some things are beyond your reach, that not everything needs a solution. Sometimes peace comes from surrender, from releasing your grip and trusting the process of life. After 50, you begin to see that trying to control everything is exhausting and futile. The tighter you hold on, the more life resists you. But when you loosen your grip, things begin to flow. You become less reactive, more present. You listen more than you speak. You observe more than you judge. Letting go is also about choosing growth over comfort. It's easy to stay in what's familiar, even when it's painful. But growth asks you to release the old, to make space for the new. And that often means stepping into the unknown, whether it's changing careers, starting over in relationships, or simply shifting your mindset. You recognize that holding on to what's safe can become the very thing that holds you back. Letting go is not a sign of weakness. It's a declaration that you're ready for more authenticity, more alignment, more truth. In this stage of life, you no longer have time to waste. You've learned the hard way that energy is precious. So you let go of gossip, of comparison, of chasing people who don't reciprocate your effort. You invest your energy into what fills you up. You protect your boundaries like your peace depends on it, because it does. You finally realize that saying no isn't selfish, it's necessary. That letting go of things doesn't mean you're losing anything. In fact, you're making room for everything you truly need. The beauty of letting go is that it brings you closer to who you really are. When you release the masks, the roles, the expectations, you return to yourself. You're no longer driven by ego or insecurity. You're grounded, clear, purposeful. Letting go is not a one-time act. It's a mindset, a daily practice, a form of emotional discipline. It's what allows you to evolve, to adapt, to stay open. And the more you do it, the more you realize it's not the things you held on to that made you strong. It's the courage to release them that did. There comes a point in life when you realize that the loudest noise is not applause from others. It's the quiet approval you give yourself. Self-respect over applause is not just a mindset. It's a transformation in how you see yourself and what you value. When you're younger, you crave validation. You want people to like you, to notice your efforts, to cheer when you succeed. It feels good temporarily, but as time passes, you begin to see the emptiness behind chasing applause. You start to understand that no amount of external praise can fill the gaps that only self-worth can truly heal. Applause fades, it comes and goes, often based on performance trends or the moods of others. Self-respect, on the other hand, is steady. It's built from within and doesn't depend on how many people are watching. It comes from doing what's right, even when no one sees it. It's the quiet voice that says, "I'm proud of you," after a hard decision. It's walking away from situations that don't align with your values, even if others don't understand. It's choosing integrity over popularity and peace over recognition. The older you get, the more you begin to prioritize what really matters. You don't need the world to clap for you anymore. You've clapped for others. You've performed. You've tried to be what everyone wanted. And somewhere along the way, you lost pieces of yourself to fit in, to be accepted. But now you're done shrinking to be digestible. You've found power and authenticity. You've discovered that your worth doesn't increase based on approval, and it doesn't decrease when you're misunderstood. Self-respect means setting boundaries and honoring them, even if it disappoints others. It's saying no without guilt. It's not tolerating disrespect just to keep the peace. It's recognizing that being liked is not the same as being valued. You begin to see that the applause of the crowd often comes with conditions. Do what they expect, say what they like, be who they approve of. But real freedom is found when you stop performing and start living by your own standards. There's strength in choosing silence over explanation. You don't owe everyone a reason for your decisions. When you respect yourself, you no longer seek to justify your growth, your choices, or your path. You simply live it. You walk with confidence, not arrogance, because confidence is quiet. It doesn't need validation. It knows who it is. And that's the power of self-respect. It anchors you when life is uncertain. It holds you up when others try to tear you down. It keeps you aligned when distractions pull at your focus. Applause can be addicting. It feeds the ego, but it starves the soul when it becomes your only fuel. Self-respect nourishes the soul, even if no one's clapping. It allows you to sleep peacefully at night, knowing you stayed true to yourself. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to impress. You just have to be real. And in that realness, you find a rare kind of strength, the kind that doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. The pursuit of applause often leads to burnout. You're constantly trying to be enough for others, losing your own sense of direction in the process. But when you switch to self-respect, everything changes. Your goals become clearer. Your circle gets smaller but stronger. You stop competing and start creating. You stop comparing and start connecting with yourself. You find that the need to be seen fades when you start seeing yourself. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It's built through experience, through heartbreak, disappointment, and the realization that applause didn't heal you, didn't save you, didn't last. You've learned that your dignity isn't up for public opinion, that your peace doesn't need to be sacrificed for approval, and that the most powerful applause is the one that comes from your soul whispering, "Well done." You begin to make different choices. You say yes to what aligns with your values, even if it's not popular. You say no to opportunities that compromise your integrity, even if they come with praise. You choose honesty over hype, substance over show, purpose over popularity. And in doing so, you become grounded, centered, and unshakable. Applause may feel good, but it's fleeting. Self-respect stays with you through every season of life. It doesn't waver with opinion or change with trends. It's the foundation you build a meaningful life on. And when you choose it over applause, you stop chasing moments and start building a legacy. Change is one of life's few guarantees, yet it's something most people spend their lives resisting. But there comes a point, especially as you grow older, when you stop fighting the waves and start learning how to ride them. Embracing change is not about liking everything that happens or pretending it's easy. It's about accepting that change is the price of growth. It's about understanding that nothing meaningful evolves in comfort zones. When you embrace change, you stop seeing it as a threat and start seeing it as a teacher. You realize that the moments that disrupted your routine the most often shaped you the most. Most people fear change because it disrupts familiarity. It asks us to let go of what we know and step into uncertainty. But what we often forget is that every breakthrough in our lives started with some form of disruption. Growth never happens by accident. It happens when we are forced to adapt, to rethink, to evolve. Change strips away what is no longer needed and makes space for what is next. Sometimes it feels like loss. Sometimes it feels like chaos. But underneath it all, it's transformation and progress. It's life rearranging itself to prepare you for a stronger version of you. When you embrace change, you take your power back. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and start becoming the author of your story. You move from fear to curiosity. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" That shift in mindset is what separates the defeated from the resilient. Change will come, whether you like it or not. The real question is, will you grow with it, or will you get stuck trying to rewind what no longer exists? Embracing change also means letting go of control. You begin to realize that no matter how tightly you hold on, some things are meant to end. People will come and go, plans will fall apart, dreams will evolve, and all of that is okay. You're not here to freeze life in place. You're here to evolve with it. And when you stop resisting what's changing, you start creating space for what's becoming. You make room for new opportunities, new relationships, new mindsets that would have never arrived if you stayed clinging to the old.
There's a quiet power in choosing to adapt rather than complain. When others are stuck in the past, you're already moving forward. You understand that time doesn't wait for anyone, and neither should you. Life rewards those who remain open, open to learning, open to unlearning, open to being wrong, open to starting over. Every time you choose to embrace change, you strengthen your resilience. You become more flexible, more aware, more alive. The fear of the unknown no longer paralyzes you, it energizes you. Change often reveals what we're really made of. When everything stable gets shaken, your true character rises. Do you retreat into comfort, or do you rise with courage? Do you panic, or do you pivot? You learn more about yourself in moments of change than in years of routine. You discover hidden strengths, new talents, deeper values. You stop living on autopilot and start making intentional moves. Change wakes you up. It challenges your assumptions. It forces you to reevaluate what matters. And in doing so, it clears away the distractions and realigns you with your purpose. One of the most powerful aspects of embracing change is the freedom it brings. You no longer live with the illusion that life has to go according to plan. You accept the detours, the delays, the redirections. You trust that every ending carries the seed of a new beginning. You become less attached to outcomes and more focused on alignment. Are you living in a way that honors your growth? Are you surrounding yourself with people who evolve with you, not against you? These are the questions that guide a mindset ready for change. Eventually, you start to see change as a gift. Not always a pleasant one, but a necessary one. You start to expect it, welcome it, even seek it, because you've learned that everything you truly needed, strength, perspective, clarity, wisdom, came not from staying the same, but from transforming. And the more you grow, the more you realize that who you were was just a stepping stone to who you're becoming. Embracing change isn't the end of stability, it's the beginning of real, grounded strength. It's choosing to trust the process, even when the path isn't clear. It's knowing that life doesn't break you with change, it builds you, if you let it. There comes a stage in life when you no longer feel the need to prove anything to anyone. That stage is peace. In your younger years, you may have spent a lot of time and energy trying to prove your worth, to be seen, to be heard, to be validated. You wanted people to know what you were capable of. You wanted to be understood, admired, accepted. You debated to win. You argued to be right. You compared your path with others, needing to measure up. But as you grow, you realize that proving yourself is a never-ending cycle that only drains your spirit. True peace comes when you decide that your self-worth isn't up for debate. You stop needing to be right all the time. You stop entering conversations with the goal of winning. You listen more and react less, not because you're weak, but because you're wise. You've learned that not every battle is worth fighting, and not every opinion deserves your response. You no longer need to correct everyone or defend yourself at every turn. Your energy becomes too valuable to waste on arguments that lead nowhere. You don't seek revenge or applause, you seek peace. And in that decision, you become powerful. Peace over proving is a shift in identity. It's moving from ego to essence. It's understanding that your life doesn't need to be explained to those who are committed to misunderstanding you. You no longer chase the illusion of being seen a certain way. You just are. You live with clarity, not performance. You act out of intention, not insecurity. The need to impress, to justify, to compete, it fades when you truly know who you are. And when you know who you are, nothing anyone says can shake you. You begin to value quiet confidence over loud declarations. You don't have to post everything, prove everything, announce everything. There's a quiet kind of strength that comes from just living your truth. You no longer need an audience to validate your growth. You no longer need permission to walk away from noise. You realize that the loudest person in the room isn't always the strongest. Often it's the one who has the most to prove. But you've evolved beyond that. Your life speaks for itself now. This shift doesn't happen by accident. It's earned. You reach peace after going through the fire of needing approval, the frustration of being misunderstood, and the exhaustion of constantly explaining yourself. And then one day you just stop. You stop needing everyone to get it. You stop needing to fix people's perceptions. You choose peace because it protects your energy, your focus, your future. And that's when you begin to grow at a pace no one can touch, because you're no longer tied to proving anything. You're simply becoming. You also start to notice how much peace costs. It's not cheap. It requires letting go of ego, of the need to be validated, of the desire to always have the last word. It requires you to walk away from drama, from gossip, from people who bait you into proving your worth. It means protecting your boundaries even when others don't understand them. It means being okay with being misunderstood. Not everyone needs access to your truth. Not everyone has earned the right to understand your growth. Peace becomes your filter. If it costs your peace, it's too expensive. You begin making decisions not based on what looks good, but what feels right. You start choosing silence over noise, solitude over superficiality, depth over attention. You measure success not by how many people are watching, but by how aligned you feel within yourself. You realize that the most powerful life is the one built on peace, not applause, not argument, not attention, just peace. Eventually, peace becomes your standard. You won't argue to prove your intelligence. You won't lower yourself to win a fight. You won't stay in environments that require you to constantly justify your worth. You're not avoiding conflict. You're choosing your battles wisely. You're not afraid of being challenged. You're just not interested in wasting your energy on empty debates. You've come too far to let small-mindedness pull you back into old patterns. When you choose peace over proving, you become untouchable in the best way. not because you're above others, but because you're deeply rooted in yourself. You're not trying to be the loudest, you're trying to be the most centered. And in that centeredness you find everything you were once chasing: clarity, strength, respect, freedom. Peace over proving isn't about walking away from people. It's about walking into a life where your value isn't up for negotiation. It's choosing to live fully, not loudly. And that changes everything. Purpose-driven living is about waking up each day with clarity, not just motion. It's the difference between existing and truly living. Many people move through life on autopilot, checking boxes, following routines, chasing goals handed to them by society, family, or culture. But purpose-driven living breaks that cycle. It's not about how much you do, it's about why you do it. It means your actions are rooted in meaning. Your choices are guided by values. Your life isn't reactive, it's intentional. And when you begin to live this way, everything shifts. You no longer feel empty after a long day. You feel aligned. Living with purpose doesn't require a perfect plan or a grand mission. It starts with knowing what matters most to you and building your life around it. Purpose isn't found in a title, a job, or a paycheck. It's found in how you show up. It's found in how you love, how you serve, how you grow. Some people wait for permission to live with purpose, thinking it has to come from a breakthrough or a big opportunity. But purpose doesn't need permission. It just needs honesty. Ask yourself, what fuels me? What makes me feel alive? What am I here to contribute? Your answers don't need to impress anyone. They just need to be real. When you live on purpose, you stop chasing everything. You stop saying yes to things that don't align with your values. You stop trying to be everything to everyone. You understand that clarity creates focus, and focus creates freedom. You're no longer busy. You're intentional. You prioritize time with the people and projects that reflect your deeper mission. You make decisions not just to succeed, but to stay aligned. It doesn't mean every day is easy, but it means every day is meaningful. And that's what sustains you through the hard moments. Purpose-driven living also brings resilience. When you know your why, setbacks don't stop you. They strengthen you. You're not thrown off course by every obstacle because you're anchored by something deeper. Disappointments don't defeat you because your identity isn't tied to results. It's tied to your mission. You learn to endure challenges with grace because you're not just living for applause or comfort. You're living for something greater. That kind of inner fire is rare, and it's powerful. This way of living also redefines success. In a world that measures worth by numbers, titles, and likes, purpose-driven people measure success by impact, integrity, and peace. You might not always get the loudest recognition, but you'll have the deepest fulfillment. You'll lay your head down at night, knowing you stayed true to who you are. You'll look back on your days and know they added up to something that mattered. Not just to the world, but to your soul. Purpose doesn't make you perfect. It just keeps you grounded. It keeps you from drifting. It reminds you that time is too precious to waste on things that drain you, or distract you from what you're here to do. And while others might be confused by your path, you don't need everyone to understand. You just need to keep walking it. Your purpose doesn't have to be loud to be real. It just has to be consistent. Living this way also impacts those around you. Purpose is contagious. When people see you living with clarity and conviction, it challenges them to reflect on their own lives. You become a source of inspiration, not because you're trying to be, but because alignment is magnetic. You live in such a way that your presence speaks louder than your words. You become the kind of person who doesn't just chase dreams. You embody meaning. The beauty of purpose-driven living is that it's never too late to start. Whether you're 25 or 65, the moment you decide to live with intention, everything begins to change. You don't need a major life event to begin. You just need to decide that you want more than a life that looks good. You want a life that feels right. And that starts by paying attention to the quiet voice inside you that's been telling you all along what really matters. Purpose doesn't eliminate challenges, but it gives your struggles context. It turns your pain into wisdom, your setbacks into strength, your journey into something that serves not just yourself but others. And at the end of it all, purpose leaves a legacy, not just in what you build, but in who you become. When you live with purpose, you don't just go through life, you grow through life. And that's the difference that makes life truly worth living. Quiet, unshakable power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to. It isn't found in loud voices, flashy success, or constant validation. It lives in presence, in stillness, in a calm confidence that radiates from someone who knows exactly who they are and what they stand for. This kind of power is rare because it's built, not borrowed. It doesn't depend on attention or applause. It's rooted in discipline, self-awareness, and inner strength, qualities that take years to cultivate. Quiet power isn't performative. It doesn't need to prove anything. It just is. When you develop quiet, unshakable power, you stop reacting to everything. You're not easily rattled, not because you're cold or disconnected, but because you've learned how to master your emotions instead of being mastered by them. You've faced storms, walked through disappointments, and endured pain, and because of that, you've built resilience. Your calm isn't weakness, it's control. It's the result of choosing self-respect over outbursts, clarity over chaos. You're no longer triggered by every opinion or setback. Your peace is protected by perspective. Quiet power doesn't argue to be right. It chooses truth over ego. It knows when to speak and when to stay silent. It's not interested in proving superiority, but in staying aligned. People often confuse silence with surrender, but there's a silence that comes from knowing exactly what you're capable of. You don't need to shout when your life speaks for itself. You don't need to dominate a room to lead it. You lead by example, by consistency, integrity, and presence. This kind of power is unshakable because it's not built on temporary things. It doesn't rise and fall with trends, titles, or public opinion.
It comes from doing the inner work that most avoid. You've faced yourself in the mirror. You've addressed your flaws. You've healed from things that once broke you. And now you walk differently. You don't chase recognition. You move with intention. You know what drains you and what feeds you. You've become selective with your energy, not out of arrogance, but out of wisdom. Quiet, unshakable power means you no longer need the room to applaud you for you to feel valuable. You've learned that external validation is fleeting, but self-validation lasts. You've stopped chasing approval and started building alignment. You value growth over comfort, peace over proving, and purpose over popularity. You've mastered the art of restraint, not because you're holding back, but because you no longer feel the need to react to everything that comes your way. This power shows up in the way you handle conflict. You don't explode. You evaluate. You don't seek revenge. You choose peace. You're not interested in looking powerful. You're committed to being powerful. The kind of powerful that doesn't make noise but makes impact. The kind of powerful that can sit with discomfort and not run from it. That can choose patience when anger would be easier. That can walk away from chaos without needing to prove a point. That's the kind of power that leaves a mark. You begin to value solitude, not isolation but sacred time with yourself. You understand that reflection is where real growth happens. In the quiet, you get clear. In the quiet, you get honest. And from that place, you move with precision. You're no longer busy for the sake of being busy. You're intentional. You protect your time. You guard your peace. You stop over-explaining yourself because you know that those who truly understand don't need an explanation. And those who don't never will. There's a quiet power in kindness too. You don't need to be harsh to be respected. You can be gentle and still set boundaries. You can be humble and still be powerful. You've realized that your strength doesn't come from dominating others. It comes from mastering yourself. The more you understand yourself, the less you seek control over others. You're no longer reactive, you're responsive. You don't get pulled into every conflict. You don't lose sleep over opinions that don't pay your peace. In a world that's loud and performative, your quiet power stands out. It's rare. It's grounded. It doesn't rise with applause or fall with criticism. It simply remains. And that consistency builds trust, not just with others, but within yourself. When you have quiet, unshakable power, you become your own anchor. You don't fear change. You don't chase people. You don't shrink to fit. You found something most never do. Peace with who you are. And from that peace, you lead a life that doesn't need to be loud to be legendary.